The tables have turned, and we are interviewing Lisa today, our fearless leader, the main host of The Secrets of the Hidden Workforce. So I am a guest host today, interviewing Lisa about her book that she wrote, The Secrets of the Hidden Workforce. So Lisa, tell us about your book, The Secrets of the Hidden Workforce.
Much like the radio show, Maggie, my book is just an exploration of the work I do, the people I work with, and the systems that we work within. I did take a little bit of time to get a little technical because I thought to myself, I want to know everything. I'm asking questions all the time. People may want to know how my business runs. So I put a little bit in there of how we do the business and how businesses like mine work a little, and a little bit about the government funding, a little technical, but the rest of it is stories from my beginning of working in the field, my childhood, then how I started Rise Staffing, and then eventually the Hidden Workforce radio show.
Awesome. So what inspired you to write this book? Was there a moment where you just thought to yourself, I've got to share my story?
Well, I am a talker, and people love to hear my stories, it seems. They are often interested, and many people have said over the years, Lisa, you should do one of those YouTube videos and this and that. And I said, no, I can't. But now look at, here we are doing it, thanks to you, Maggie.
Yeah. Had a good time. Awesome. I know, like, we've read bits and pieces of the Hidden Work. We've read through the book, of course. You wrote the book. I've read it. What is just a story that sticks out in The Secrets of the Hidden Workforce?
Just start at the beginning, my first thing. It was my neighbor, Johnny. I was just a little girl. I had no idea about different abilities, people being different, or really anything. Nobody really explained it to me. So my neighbor was making some really cool sounds on our chain link fence. I was like, okay, that's cool. So I started making sounds back with him, and we started dancing around and playing a little bit. And my mom told me, no, get over here. No, we don't play with him. Why? She wouldn't really say. That was the thing that annoyed me in my whole life, is when people wouldn't say. I really had to ask why, but she wouldn't tell me. And we became friends eventually, to the point where I guess my neighbor kids were watching me or something, and my mother was doing hair in the basement. I was over at his house eating chocolate chip cookies. My mother's like, where is my daughter? Comes over and then sees that this boy, Johnny, his mother, and myself are having a great experience. She really couldn't say no then.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he had what we call today Down syndrome.
Okay. So Johnny was like the beginning of it all. That was your first encounter with somebody who lived with a different ability, but it was kind of the foundation, maybe the framework that was laid out.
Yeah, because for heaven's sakes, we were friends. Somebody told me not to play with them, and then I caught on to why, and I realized that was dumb.
Yeah.
In my mind, it didn't make sense. So through my school years, through just going around in the world, if somebody was what I would call an underdog or a person in special ed, because at that time, people with special ed weren't integrated like they are now. So we had, as you all probably know, and listeners too, lines of them walking through the hallways, and then kids would make fun of them. And I would just get so upset and try to right those situations.
Yeah, bring justice.
Advocacy, yeah. So in my heart, I always had a soft spot.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's the next phase then? So that's phase one.
Okay, I'm gonna go to college in Pennsylvania to be a hog farmer. I'm gonna learn the stuff.
Wow.
And then my boyfriend at the time, we were gonna get married. He was gonna do the work, right?
Wow.
And so I wound up getting a part-time job at a group home with 3 women.
Yeah.
And I would go in on Thursdays and stay. They would come home from their day program, which was like a workshop, and then I would help them cook dinner, get their laundry done, go to bed, and it was pretty interesting. I kind of liked it. So I did eventually stop working there because I moved on.
Yeah. And that's kind of where you fell in love with
working
direct support services.
Yes,
and working in a career oriented toward people who live with
because it was with the Doylestown ARC, Association for Retarded Citizens, so it was a very professional organization.
And that's an old, archaic terminology.
Right. But now it's called the ARC. But that's what it was then, and I just didn't really know even about programs like that, so I learned, and then I was going to change my colleges, and I got on the waiting list for the one I wanted, and I had to wait. So I got a part-time job at an institution that served people with different abilities because I learned about it. And that was really the clincher.
Yeah.
I learned about how I felt about the people, how if I just worked with them patiently, kindly, that they would actually just do what they were supposed to and even learn and grow and be sweet, lovable, adorable people.
Yeah.
In my book, I will talk about some of the heartaches of things that I saw, some of the abuse I saw, which was a good reason for me to think I wanted to get into the field.
Yeah, because on one side, you're bringing the care that they need, and it's really personal care. On the other side, you're seeing that care being abused, and so do you feel like that's kind of where the beginning of, not beginning of advocacy, that's Johnny, but like the beginning of seeing maybe even more injustices in the world?
Yes,
of people with disabilities?
Sure, because here I am now in a large institution, and I think it was state run, because I was a member of the AFSCME union, and I don't remember exactly what that stands for, but I was a union member, right? When things would happen, like a client of mine got punched in the gut, I can't really do anything. Because it's my word against the person. My client can't really tell anybody that this happened to them, and she's covered by the union. So the supervisors told me, because I was a questioner, I got the story, we can't do anything about it because it's just gonna be a bunch of trouble for nothing. So
it's just wild to me, because if something like that happened now, it's a completely different approach.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's phase 2. So where does phase 3 come into the mix?
I wound up then selling real estate, doing all kinds of other jobs, right?
Yeah.
Moving to New Mexico, then I worked in restaurants.
Such a shift.
Yeah, I know, that was funny. And when I was living in New Jersey, I swear to God, people in New Jersey said, "You're moving to Mexico?"
Yeah.
I said, "It's New Mexico." They couldn't get that was an actual state in the country, and they thought, "You don't know how to speak Spanish."
Right, and you were like, "No, that's not what we mean."
Yeah.
Right.
And then I worked in a burrito company, and then I also then went into Santa Maria El Mirador, which after I went to work there, I haven't stopped since.
And you got your bachelor's in the interim, isn't that right? You got
it was
your
like,
bachelor's
yes, because
in
I
management.
piecemealed my way through college.
Yeah, you pieced it together. That's okay.
And I met some great people, and the man who wrote the foreword in my book, John DePaula, is my mentor, and he was one of my supervisors.
Yeah.
He and I, and another man named Bill Shears, we started the supported employment program now. And that was really interesting, because here I was, a girl from New Jersey coming into New Mexico, up in Española, which is very cultured in New Mexican people, saying, "Hey, I think I can take your child and get them a job." Eventually it worked out. They trusted me, and they were making me delicious Mexican meals.
Just really integrating into everything. So this is phase 3. So this is kind of the beginning of when we get into what you do with your life, because now you get people who live with disabilities jobs. And was New Mexico where you started the job coaching component?
Yeah, definitely.
Where you just grew and flourished.
Yes, because it was in the 80s, and in the 80s it was the time supported employment became big, and we mentioned the ARC before. They were a major player in this supported employment. They offered a repayment to employer, so I could go with my customer and say, "Hey, I've got this guy who wants to work for you. The first month he works for you, I'm going to repay you 100% of his wages. The second month, 50%, and the third month, 25%. And that really helped a lot. And that was a grant national by the ARC of the United States.
Wow.
So that was a big time supported employment push. So I feel I was in at the beginning of it, and I went to the University of New Mexico, and I learned from people who, I got certificates, I got, papers on all of that, but it was really cool, and I learned a lot, and just taking it into practice.
Yeah, so you hopped around a lot. I mean, all of these different places you were built the career that you've bolstered over the years.
I was at my in-laws the other day, and they read the book, and they said, "We didn't know you worked so many places."
Yes.
Because they were special education teachers that pretty much had 2 schools only and stayed for their careers. And I never really thought about me jumping around, but I guess I do.
Well, but you've been everywhere. But what brought you to Oklahoma? Starting from New Jersey, hopping to Pennsylvania, then we're flying all the way to New Mexico, and now we're in Oklahoma.
And we drove in a Volkswagen Jetta with a box on top.
That is crazy. What a move.
But anyway, what happened was Santa Maria El Mirador was great.
Yeah.
I was ready to take myself to another level when I did get my diploma finally in business administration. I was ready to move up, but they weren't ready to let me move up.
Okay.
So I'm not the kind of person that stays around waiting for something to happen. I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I found a company called ResCare. It's it was a national corporation. It was on the New York Stock Exchange and everything. They wanted to expand into northern New Mexico. Well, I'm available, and I got hired. And so from there, I started a company from scratch. I mean, they had the infrastructure and the money, but I'm the one that went on the ground with the legwork. I didn't even know how to find clients. I had to just do it, and I did. Yeah. So that was cool. And then my supervisor in that corporation, her name was Susan, and we really became good friends, and she saw something in me. Job opened up in Oklahoma.
And there
my nephew was living with me, and his father, we adopted him. He was father living in Oklahoma. We thought, well, we should have our son live near his father.
Yeah.
So I'll apply for the job. And I got it.
And you nailed it. Yeah.
And the rest is history. Yeah. And if you want to know more, I've got this great book, The Secrets of the Hidden Workforce.
Yes.
It's on sale for $20.
Yes, you can get it on Amazon.
Amazon. Just put in The Secrets of the Hidden Workforce.
And it'll take you to every site.
Pop you right up. Yeah. And then you can find our show and all of our podcasts too.
Yeah. So you'll hear all about the adventure that Lisa went on to get to where she is today, and how she created Rise Staffing. That's not the first business that she started, but now it is just flourishing in what it is today. And it's not just the journey. You also hear stories about people who live with disabilities who feature kind of like their stories as well, and people that you've had these personal encounters with.
I've had some very great experiences and some really great people that, well, we changed the names for many of them who were willing, but I did get their stories in because I thought the best way to explain it is to tell exactly what's happening. Because I don't know if you ever heard the Steinmark commercial. Once you go, you know.
Yeah. And so once
that's how I feel.
Yeah, but once you hear their story, you get it.
Right.
You understand what they've been through, the obstacles that they face, that they have to navigate. But then you come along and you help navigate them through those obstacles and get them the jobs that they deserve.
And hopefully the readers and the listeners will understand they're only small obstacles if you see them that way.
Yeah.
You can figure it out, and it's not going to stop people from doing things.
Absolutely. So to wrap up just this little promo of your book, what would you say is the message that you would like to leave with readers who read your book?
It would be just what I said right then. We are all people. We just have different abilities, and there's small obstacles, and hopefully by reading my book you'll see how easy it is to overcome some of those obstacles. And just don't smile and turn away, happy that someone else will care when you see us coming. No, we're your neighbor.
Yeah, and that we don't just have to turn away and smile that someone else will do it, that we can be an active part of being the solution too.
Because we're in the same community, we're neighbors.
Yeah, and it's important that we all work together in that way. Well, thank you, Lisa, for letting me interview you and telling us all about your book.
Thank you, Maggie.